music of Franz Ferdinand has been around for nearly 2 decades now, and they've pretty much perfected the classic indie pop song, and in the process become one of the biggest UK bands in the world, selling over 10 million albums. They've won Brit, Ivor Novello and Mercury Music Prizes. They've been nominated for Grammys and sold 6 million tickets for their live shows around the world, and now they're on tour with the Hits to the Head tour, playing all their biggest hits from their nearly 20-year career. So I caught up with Alex from the band to talk about how things are going and what's next for Franz Ferdinand. We also talk about some of his favourite new music, including one that's very close to home for him.
I'm just in the dressing room of the Fillmore here in Philly.
How's it been? You're on this hits tour.
Yeah.
So I know you've done Europe, and now you're out there in America since the beginning of the month.
Yeah.
How does it feel?
It feels really good. It's good to be out. I think there were times during the darkest moments of the pandemic when we all wondered if we'd ever get to do it again. So yeah, I'm definitely savoring being able to play these songs to audiences. Yeah, it's a good atmosphere, it's a really good atmosphere. And I think as well, doing the, so we did this Hits to the Head record, which is like 20 of the hits of the last 20 years or so. And it's really nice. I don't think we've ever played anything like this before in a set, and I don't think we ever will again. So it's kind of like a fun thing to do. Maybe in 20 years' time, when we're doing 40 years worth of the band, we'll do it then.
So why now? Why play the greatest hits tour? I mean, obviously you've got the album, but what is it about this time period in Franz Ferdinand's life that you think this is the right time to do it?
Well, it all relates to the physical capacity of vinyl, because we talked about doing like a record like this for a long time. I've always liked greatest hits records. I think it's like a fun thing to do for a band. And we'd been speaking to Domino about it for years, and then Lawrence was kind of saying, like, listen, you can only really fit 20 songs on a double LP. Yeah, if you leave it any longer, you're going to be missing out. We had to miss out something we wanted to put on anyway, so we thought, yeah, we should do it now. And so we've done the record, and now's the time to tour it. So, it'd be weird putting the record out and not touring it. It felt like the right thing to do. We could have waited and done a triple LP, but triple LPs are terrible. Like nobody likes a triple LP. They're for wankers,
And especially now, like attention spans are getting smaller and smaller. I think you timed it perfectly, to be honest.
It's funny, isn't it? Yeah, it does seem that streaming algorithms have altered the way that music is perceived or consumed in many ways, and I think you're right. It has shrunk the attention span of a lot of listeners. Do you think that?
Yeah.
I don't think it has for me, but that's because I'm ancient. I'm old-fashioned. I like LPs.
Yeah, I still like to put an album on, like especially when it first comes out. Like sit down and listen to it from front to back. And I'm guessing you're probably the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's because also like when I was a kid getting records for myself for the first time. Records were quite a rarity. I'm sure it was the same for you as well. Like you had to save up a lot of money to get an album, and when you got it, you really savored it, and you listened to every last little moment of it, and made sure you got everything you could out of it. And I mean, I'm not going to have a hate on streaming. Like I think there's great things about streaming. I love how immediate everything is, and the world is kind of at your fingertips. That's kind of cool. And then it sounds terrible as well. But so did my radio, so did my Walkman when I was a kid. I sometimes think we remember the past with too rosy a tint. People talk about cassettes and how wonderful they were, but most music sounded pretty bad on a cassette. It wasn't a good sound.
Yeah, I used to have cassettes that had been recorded off a cassette that was recorded off something else, and it was like
exactly, yeah.
And I still loved it. So
yeah. But that's it as well, isn't it? I think there's maybe too much made of like the quality of music. If it's a good song, if there's a lyric in there that moves you and you just feel the energy of the song, then it doesn't matter how crappy the recording is, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So I noticed that on this tour, you've been switching up the set list,
Yes.
especially at a few shows.
Yeah.
What's the reason for that? Is that just to keep it interesting for you, or?
Yeah. It's so that both me and the band don't feel like it's a routine. You know, I know what makes a good set list. I know that you can sort of say, all right, these 3 songs are always going to be good openers and that'll kind of build it. But I think it's kind of cool to like have a sort of like degree of the unexpected about a set list, both for the audience and for you as a performer. Because every gig should feel different. You know, I was talking to some friends of mine. In fact, Julian was talking to somebody he knows who plays in a band where everything's on track, and to say that every set is exactly the same to the split second. And I think that would drive me insane. It'd be like Sisyphus rolling the rock up the hill in Hades, you know, like the repetition of the same thing every day. I think you would grow to hate your own music. I love the idea of unpredictability, and also leaving space to respond to the audience as well, because, you know, like every audience is different, and you play to different people and you play to the audience as a whole. And I love that. That's what makes it exciting for me,
especially now that people can go on Setlist FM and they can see what you've been playing, like I did.
Yeah.
If they could see you were playing the same set list every night, then they would always know what track was coming next.
Yes, you're totally right. Yeah. They know what's going to be next.
Uses that element of surprise, and I think, you know, that's something that you go to a show for, is to not know what's going to happen.
Yes, exactly. I mean, to be fair though, like we are playing songs from this album, so like we're playing most of that album live, but it'll change around a little bit every night, and it's good to surprise people a little bit. But not too much. You don't want to like kind of like walk on and suddenly do like a 20-minute jazz reinterpretation of, I don't know, Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin. Although maybe that'd be good. I don't know.
Hey, never say never.
Yeah, right.
And I saw that you went to Amoeba recently.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you pick up anything exciting there?
I did. You know, I got this really interesting record. The one that really kind of stuck with me is there's a band called Cartoon with an E on the end of it. And they were like, they were a Scottish band, a band from Glasgow in the late 60s. And I just remember looking at it and reading about it. And sometimes you do that in a record shop, you'll so like read about it and then maybe Google a little bit. I was like, how come I've never heard of this band before? Because I think it was on Atlantic. They were on Atlantic. I think they were the first band signed by Emma Erdogan before Led Zeppelin. And Jimmy Page played on the album. I was like, that's mad. And so I took it back and I had to listen to it. The songs are great on it, like really, really good. And funnily enough, the singer's daughter got in touch with me over Twitter, and she was like, she's a fan of Franz Ferdinand, and she was randomly watching the What's in My Bag thing at Amoeba, and then there's me with her dad's record, and she's like so she wrote to me, she's like, that's crazy that you got that record, like not many people know about it. And so I got into a good chat with her, and and she was telling me more about the band. Apparently they toured around the States, and they opened up for Led Zeppelin quite a bit, and I think they were set up to be like a big band, but I don't know what happened. Maybe I don't know whether they fell out or things just didn't work out for them. But yeah, when you listen to it, it really feels like the beginning of a long career of a band. And I'm very aware of that, especially from the scene that I came from in Glasgow, because I used to put on bands in a place called the 13th Note, and there were so many amazing bands came out of that scene, and so few of them actually made it into the wider world, you know, for one reason or another. Like sometimes you just fall out with your pals and the band splits up. Sometimes, I mean, other darker things, like whether it's booze or the drugs, like kill the band off, or, you know, it's sometimes, and I sometimes think about it with my own band as well, like how fragile a thread it is that can like it is which you swing upon to bring the weight of your music actually into the world itself. Like it's yeah, there's a good chance that it wouldn't have happened for one reason or another. And so I'm pretty jammy to be talking to you and heading on my way to Montreal to play these tunes.
Was there any bands that you put on at that club that actually did make it?
Yeah, Mogwai played their first ever gig at that club. Stuart Murdoch from Belle and Sebastian, he used to come down and play acoustic before Belle and Sebastian, but a lot of those songs that ended up becoming Belle and Sebastian songs we all kind of heard for the first time down there. And there were other bands as well that maybe didn't have the success of those bands like Biss and Urusei Yatsura and Lungleg and the Yummy Fur played down there. It was a good scene. Like, it was a really nice scene back in the 90s. Yeah.
So now that you're on the road and you've got this album and you're playing all the hits, you're bound to get a little bit nostalgic. And you're a band that came out the gate running. Like, Take Me Out was your second single.
Yeah.
Grammy nominated. And then the album won the Mercury, also Grammy nominated.
Yeah.
Looking back now, do you think having success that early was a good thing for the band, or was it mixed?
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned the Grammy. We've been nominated for 5 Grammys. I haven't won a single fucking one. but as for the thing, I mean, it's a mixture. When I made that record, I was 30, and I'd been playing in bands. I've been writing songs since I was 14. So it didn't feel like an overnight success to me at the time. It felt like after banging away at it for years, and like I actually kind of like after I'd given up believing that there would be any kind of like success for the band, or the idea of being able to support myself or pay for a dinner. I was going to say pay for my rent, but like pay for a bag of chips with the band. I never thought that would happen. So that was kind of a surprise. But as for like Franz Ferdinand itself, like, damn, like I'm not going to complain about it. What a great thing to happen. It was pretty fun, quite a surprise. I thought, I just presumed that we'd be like a kind of cult band, because that's what all my pals were, like the kind of scene we kind of came from. I guess like I did have my contemporaries to look to, like bands like Mogwai or Biss and Urusei and that sort of lot, or Belle and Sebastian. Mogwai and Belle and Sebastian had done well, but the Delgados, but they'd never quite had the sort of experience that we really had, because we kind of crossed over into a daytime Radio 1 kind of pop world at the time, and going on MTV and that sort of stuff, which was quite a surprise.
I remember having a conversation with a couple of the guys from Block Party. It must have been around 2005, and they were saying how they'd love to do it full time, but they still had day jobs. And they actually said, until you get to the level of Franz Ferdinand, you can't give up your day job. That was their quote.
That's funny. I saw those guys recently. We played a festival with them in Los Angeles, and they're a good band. I love Block Party. They're a magic band.
I actually went to see Block Party on my wedding day.
Oh, did you? Nice one. I'm impressed.
We got married, we had a meal, and then we went to see Block Party.
And was your other half pleased about that?
Yeah, she was quite happy.
That's good.
Like, I didn't drag her along. It wasn't like anything like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
It wouldn't have been a good start.
Oh, that's magic.
One last question I always ask is, for new music, is there new music that you're listening to that you think we should check out? Yeah,
there's loads of new music. I think we're on the verge of a period of a healthy period in music, and certainly for the kind of music that I like, which is, I don't know, bands playing songs with a good lyric and playing it for real, and I think there's a few good things kicking about. I've got to mention the band that I produced. There's a band I produced called Los Bichos. You might have come across them. Like they're a kind of like mix of cumbia and Turkish psychedelia, all girl band. They're truly international, but based in London. Yeah, they're amazing. They're really good and so much fun live. Like if you get a chance to go and see them live, it's a really uplifting experience. But there's another band based in London called Porridge Radio. I really love them. Yeah, they're great, aren't they? Like I think Dana's like an amazing singer, a great front woman. I love the Bug Club. Have you come across them yet?
I think I know them.
Yeah, they're really good. There's a song. I think the kind of in song is there's a song called "If My Mother Thinks I'm Happy." It's a brilliant lyric, and yeah, they're really good fun. Another band to keep your eye on. There's a band coming out of Glasgow. They've not really got much out there yet, but there's a band called Medicine Cabinet. They're really cool. I need to plug my cousin's band as well. He'll be very happy. So my cousin plays in a band called The Great Leslie, and they come along just fine as well. So maybe they'll get over to Montreal sometime as well.
And you've got Wunderbar along for the show on Tuesday.
Yes, Wunderbar are amazing. Have you seen those guys?
I haven't seen them. I'm looking forward to seeing them.
Yeah, they're amazing. And I definitely say it's well worth coming down. I presume they'll be on at 8 and we'll be on at 9. But come down and check them out. They're absolutely fantastic. You know, we always try and get bands that we know we're going to be into on tour. And we've had some great bands with us over the years, like bands like Omni came on the road with us, and Bodega were on the road with us before. And yeah, it's cool to like take a band out that you're going to want to see every night. In fact, I was just texting Ryan from the Cribs because they toured with us around the States and into Canada as well, like a few years ago, and that's where I really got to know those guys. So yeah, it's cool having a great opener. I think those guys are going to do really wonderful things as well. There's something very special about Wunderbar.
Well, the clue's in the name, I guess.
Right, yeah. It's a pretty confident choice of name, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
No, it's been really nice talking to you too. Yeah, cheers, Steve. And come up and say hi after the gig or something. You know, like I'm sure we'll be hanging out afterwards. Yeah, that'd be lovely. All right, nice one. I'll see you up there. All right, à bientôt.